guys, and welcome to my channel.
So we have our wings here, right? A wing is separated into three. You've got your drum, you've got your flat, and you've got your tip, right? So I'm going to separate all three of these, right? So I'm going to separate the drum from the flat, and I'm going to separate the wing from the tip. And I'm going to do this with all four of my wings. Now I have separated my wings into drums, flats, and tips, right? So my four full wings now become 8 winglets, and we're going to use 8 winglets for this recipe, right? Then now we're going to have to start with the mixture, right? So we're going to have to, because we have to batter these, right? As we are going to fry them. So I've got 1 egg here, and to this 1 egg, right, I am going to add 2 teaspoons, oopsie, of milk. And then what we're going to do with that is we are just going to whisk and combine it. And once it's then been combined, I'm just going to add some salt and pepper, right? I am a firm believer in salting as you go, right? So I salt everything because I do not like bland food. And I'm just going to put in some pepper, just mix that in again. And then we can just set this aside. And then onto the dry mixture, right? So for my dry mixture, I have got half a cup of flour, right? This is normal flour, not self-raising flour. And then to that, I am going to add, I've got a spice mix here, right, for my dunked wings. I have got 1 teaspoon of paprika. I'm using smoked paprika. I've got 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. I've got 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder. I've got 2 teaspoons of barbecue spice, so any barbecue spice you like. And then this is totally optional. I have got 1 teaspoon of chili flakes. I love hot food, right? So hence I added the extra chili flakes for myself. So then to this flour, I'm just going to put in my spices, right? Just make sure it all goes in. And then I'm just going to, oh, actually, you must also add salt. Add some salt to taste, right? And I'm also going to put in, I'm going to grind in some pepper, black pepper, right? About a teaspoon of that. But depending on your personal preference, then I am going to mix all of this together. So now we are going to coat our winglets, right? What you're going to do is, so my method is I use 1 hand for the dry and the other hand for the wet, just so I don't get that big, sticky mess, right? So I'm going to start with the wet. I'm going to take my winglets, I'm going to dip it in the egg mixture, right? Just get the excess off. Then I'm going to throw it in this side. Then I take my other hand and I'm going to cover it with the flour, right? So make sure you coat it nicely, right? And with the other hand, I'm busy with the egg mixture again. So just coat that nicely, and then once that is done, just shake, 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 and then put it onto a plate. So the reason why we put our wings first in the egg mixture is because the egg acts as an adhesive, right? So that the flour can adhere much better to the chicken, right? And you don't have places where there is no flour. And basically flour means there is going to be some great coating on that chicken, right? So that's why you need to ensure that your whole winglet is covered. So I've basically coated all my chicken wings, right, or my winglets rather, and I also kept the tips, right? So I coated the tips as well. Personally, I like crunching on the tips because you find that they're very crunchy and crispy. So I personally like the tips, so I keep them. But if you don't like the tips, just throw them in the deep freezer, and whenever you're making chicken stock, include them. Like, they add so much flavor. Now I've got oil here, and I'm about to fry my winglets. My oil is hot, and there we go. I'm going to fry it until it is fully cooked, right? You don't want your oil on high heat, right? Because then it's going to burn before it cooks, you know, fully through. So just make sure it's sitting on a good medium high, right? It's very important to ensure that your wings do not burn. So when you're seeing that they are now crispy on the bottom, just gently turn them over, right? You want your wings to be nice and golden brown. Can you see the crunch, the crust of that rather? Look at that. That is going to make for a nice crispy wing, right? Because you also want the coating, the crisp, to remain even when you've put in the soy sauce. Right, so you need to make sure that it is nice and crispy from the onset. Then once your winglets are nice and golden crispy brown, as you can see, look at the color on that, you're going to then take them out of your oil and put them onto a paper towel. My winglets are also cooked. This took about 7 to 10 minutes. Right, look at the color. Look at that color. Look at that. Oh. It took 7 to 10 minutes, so now I'm just going to put them on a paper towel to drain out the oil. So now that my wings are out, I'm going to start working on the dunk sauce. And to do the dunk, we're basically doing a soy and honey with ginger mix, right? That is what makes the KFC dunked wings. The thing that's going to go in is I'm going to start with 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, right? So I'm using dark soy sauce, 2.5 tablespoons of that. And to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of honey. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of honey. So I'm going to add that, right? You can see it's already starting to bubble. Let me just scoop that out. And then I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of sweet chili. I actually prefer chutney, but I didn't have chutney, so I'm gonna use sweet chili because it both is sweet, and that's basically what I need it for, right? So then I'm going to add a tablespoon of sweet chili, and then to that I am going to add 1 teaspoon of rice vinegar. So I'm just going to add a teaspoon of rice vinegar, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. I just cut half a lemon and I'm going to squeeze that in to make my 2 teaspoons. And then to that I am going to add, basically this is 2 cloves of minced garlic and half a teaspoon of ginger, minced ginger. So it's basically the same ratio of both garlic and ginger. Now we're just going to mix all of this. It smells amazing, guys. That ginger, that garlic, that soy sauce. All we are trying to establish is we want all the ingredients to basically come together, and we want you know, for them to just marry, you know, and for the sauce to get just a little bit thicker, you know. So I'm just going to continuously stir, right, as it boils, because at the same time you want to ensure that it doesn't burn. And it is basically now ready for my wings. Let me just throw all of them in. right? So that I can ensure that everything is in. The ones that are not yet coated, try to put them at the bottom, so that they also get an even coating. So I now have all my wings beautifully coated.